Okay, so my previous videos for tonight have been just complete bullshit up until this point. Like, I don't really know what was going on in them. I'm not gonna lie. It's just completely weird. But, yeah, I just. See, there's something that has been on my mind for a little while now, and, really kind of came to my attention last night because there's a lot of stuff that people don't necessarily think about. And it's not their fault because honestly, if you haven't experienced it, you're not really gonna know the vast amount of triggers and stuff like that. But talking about in this lovely little video, kind of like all about eating disorders and things that I've sort of come across as stuff that when people say it, even though they don't mean it to be offensive or anything like that, it affects me a lot more than I really would want it to or expect it to, right? I guess we can start off with an example from last night. When I came back to university, like right after the break, like a week had passed, and I hadn't eaten because gained a shit ton of weight over the break, and I mean I still have plenty to lose, but yeah, no. So there's that, and but my parents wanted to pick me up, and they wanted to go out and get some stuff. I was like, cool, that's awesome, I'll do that for you. Got a nice little family outing. They wanted to go to the coffee shops. I was like, cool beans. So we did that, but then by the time that we had finished with everything, that was my chair, by the way, everything, they were like, hey, do you guys want to go to Montana's? And everyone was like, yeah, and I was like, fuck, I hate this. So when we got there, to be able to deal with it, because with the anxiety, like, of course I'm not going to bring my medication for it when I'm going to a cafe, and I don't think I'm actually going to have to go sit down to a meal, right? So I was like, oh my god. And then my dad was all, hey, do you want something from the menu that we can order you? And I was like, by that he meant, do you want a beverage that is not from Myers? And I was like, you bet. So I did that. But what I had was mushrooms. Like, legitimately all I had was mushrooms. I didn't even eat all of them. But something my mom had said, like, the evening was going great, I was fine with it. But near the end, my mom decided to talk about one of my friends that I went to school with. And she was like going on, because we gave her a winter jacket, right? Because hers was old, and I was like, hey, I'm not using this one. It's way too big, and I feel way too masculine when I wear it, which is weird because I'm whatever. Yeah, and she's like, and then she just kind of sat there, and she said, you wouldn't believe how skinny she is. We thought you were skinny, and I was like, fuck. And then she was like, yeah, she's been losing so much weight, and I was like, I know. And she's just like, yeah, she's been getting so much skinnier, and like I just pretty much yelled at her. I was like, I know. And I don't know, after that I wasn't really able to make eye contact with her. Because I don't really want stuff like that to affect me, but it does, because now I've got it in my brain that I need to be a lot thinner than my friend. I mean, I've had this for 5 years now. I mean, I should be way more disciplined with it. I should be a lot thinner than I am, right? So it's stuff like that, like, I don't know why, but it bothers me so much, and I can't do it. And then I hear there's always people going on about stuff like that. And what's really frustrating is, I'm sorry if I cry, I stopped taking my medication, so it's probably going to be all like, But there's a group on campus, and they do these things called, like, it's a little campy for people who have eating disorders. It's called It's Not All About Food. And I pretty much had an anxiety attack just ripping this information off of the paper. And because I know that if I go, I would start an entirely new competition with every person there to see if I could lose more weight and be thinner than them, right? And I guess that's I don't know. Everyone tells me it's a problem, but I really don't see it that way. And so there's that. But I don't know what it is with my family. It's like they seem to think that it's gone away, and it hasn't. It's like, do you not realize that for 5 years it's been going on? Do you not, like, where were you to allow you to be able to forget this? Like, what the fuck? Sorry for swearing, but I don't know, it's just stuff like that, and people make fat jokes all the time. And it's just, I don't know. There's a lot of things that you just don't say to people. If you know that they have an eating disorder, or you suspect that they have an eating disorder, I don't know, stop telling fat jokes about other people. You don't make comments about other people or their body type, even if you're doing it in a compliment. Like, wow, that girl is so skinny. It's just, you don't say this stuff, like, because people like me are just gonna stand there and be like, fuck, do I need to be there? And it just kind of like ruins your whole perspective and day, and it just sucks. What? Give me a second. Hold on. Oh, Jesus Christ. No. I don't know what the fuck just happened. I'm sorry. That was Brendan's in a dress. But I just don't know. Don't know. But yeah, stuff like that's really just, it makes things so much worse, right? So you don't say stuff like that. And then there's just the comments of like, you're really gonna eat that, or didn't you eat earlier, or you're eating, or like, that's a lot for you to eat, or just, or making comments about your clothing size. Be like, man, oh, these used to fit super well, and now it's like, it's really loose on me. Like, that's the kind of thing that's gonna be like, oh fuck, maybe, like, I really wish my clothes were like that all the time, right? So it just, there's a lot of things that you don't say because it's like this huge trigger problem, and it's like, I know oh my god, that's the problem with this though, is because knowing that there's so many triggers, and you're like, okay guys, can you please refrain from saying these things because it's going to make everything worse. You feel like you're sitting there going, oh guys, you really need to accommodate your speech for me. And then you start feeling more shitty about yourself, because you're like, I am trying to change who they are so that I don't starve myself to death. And it's like one of the most painful things. Like, you just don't know what to do, because people are just like, sometimes you just don't say anything, and then you're like, because you don't want to have to put that type of pressure on people, because that sucks, and it's not fair to them, and you're like, because then they start monitoring absolutely everything they say around you, and you're like, fuck. It just makes things really frustrating and really hard. So, but because it's so serious, it would be really great if you're watching this, if you maybe kind of, just to help out the people in your lives that you know of having eating disorders, or you suspect of having an eating disorder. If you know or suspect, think about this stuff and try and stop saying things that have to do about weight and centered around weight and stuff, and don't go on about your calories or your carbohydrates in the food you're eating, because it's just going to make people feel worse. And I'm going to say this to you so that hopefully the person that you either know of or suspect doesn't have to say it to you, because sometimes it's the thought of telling people it's too scary, because if you're trying to take care of yourself and you have to get other people to try and notice it first, it just makes it so much worse, right? So maybe it'll take the pressure off, since now you know, and maybe if you start kind of monitoring, I guess, maybe it'll help. But there's a lot to eating disorders. There's a lot to anxiety. There's a lot to depression. There's a lot to obsessive and compulsive disorder, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, schizoaffective. There's so much hidden behind just the general blurb of symptoms, or what the commercials tell you, or what anything tells you. There's a whole lot behind them, but it takes a lot to notice. But if you're willing to notice, then you're willing to help. and there's so many people out there that need it. So if you would be so kind as to try and take your thinking away from what society has made your thinking into, which is obsessed with food, weight, calories, and scales and clothing sizes, that might very well help one of your friends be able to maybe even eat a piece of fruit that day, or eat without purging or exercising excessively. And because that means a lot to people, and it could mean that they're on the road to recovery. So yeah, if you could maybe do that or consider that, that would be awesome. So this has been a horrifically serious post by me. So I will see you guys later. Have a good one.